Nico and Mira had spent the last several days pushing Nico's unexpected trainees Weskel and Wham through every type of drill they could manage between ship duties. At first it had all felt painfully awkward, like everyone was pretending not to notice the tension that still lingered between captors and captives. But slowly, almost grudgingly, a rhythm began to return. Weskel adapted more stiffly than Wham, whose boundless enthusiasm seemed impossible to extinguish, but improvement came all the same. Even Ada eventually surrendered to curiosity and began spending time with Winona, after discovering she knew the kind of domestic crafts that most people assign to drones or androids. Winona had a hand for sewing. Wart was a mechanic with surprisingly steady hands. The two women stitched and fixed worn uniforms, while Wart and Ada tinkered with the little problems around the ship, trading techniques and talking shop as comfortably as if they'd known each other for years. Only Carter kept his distance, appearing only long enough to confirm Wham's injury was still healing properly before returning to his corner of the ship. He preferred quiet. Or maybe he preferred avoiding conversations that required emotional effort. Regardless, he stayed mostly with Amara or his own crew when not working. Life aboard a starship meant silence punctuated by routine, broken only by the vibrations of the engines and the occasional flare of simulated gunfire inside training rooms. Today, the thunder of shots bounced from wall to wall as Nico and Weskel fought through a virtual battlefield. Targets shifted and multiplied. Alarms blared. Orders flew. "Push up on the right," Nico called evenly. "I'll cover you, go." Weskel hesitated. Nico's irritation flickered through the audio feed. But Weskel didn't move until he saw the wall guard fully turn toward Nico. Then he sprinted for a slab of cover near the entrance of the fortified facility they were storming. He almost reached it before a soldier materialized on the rampart. Gunfire shredded the air around him. "Captain, I'm pinned," Weskel shouted. "Help me." Before Nico could answer, something metallic bounced across the floor. Clink, clink, clank, and stopped at Weskel's feet. His eyes widened just a fraction before the grenade ignited, ending the simulation in a burst of white. The room went dark. Weskel tore off his helmet and dropped into a frustrated slump on the cold floor. Nico smirked under his breath as he unhooked from the rig and crossed the room. "So," he began, sitting beside him, "what happened?" "I died," Weskel muttered. "Why did you die?" Weskel stared at him. "Because a grenade blew my face off." "Thought that was obvious." Nico chuckled. "Oh, it was obvious. I particularly liked the part where pieces of you went everywhere. But the point is, why not how?" Weskel clenched his jaw. "Then enlighten me, Captain." "You didn't listen," Nico replied simply. "You didn't trust your partner may have known something you didn't. You trusted only yourself." Weskel's frustration finally snapped into something raw. "Why do you even care about this? About any of this?" he demanded, rising to pace. "We're just a job to you. A payday. Something to trade for money." Nico stayed seated a moment longer before finally getting to his feet. "I thought you'd appreciate being out of your cell." Weskel's expression fell. A quiet disappointment hollowed his posture. "That's it. What were you expecting?" Nico continued, taking a slow step forward. "That we'd train a bit and suddenly I'd change my mind about everything? That I'd forget who hired me? Forget the contract?" Weskel's face darkened in parallel to Nico's grim tone. "You are a job," Nico said finally, though the words seemed to fight their way out of him. "But I saw someone who wanted to protect his family but couldn't. Someone who didn't want to feel helpless anymore. Someone desperate never to end up in this position again." His voice softened, just barely. "Was I wrong?" Weskel exhaled shakily. "No," Nico nodded. "Then stop acting like I'm your enemy in here. I'm trying to give you the tools you need." Weskel picked up his helmet and clicked it back on. "Ready, Captain?" Behind his helmet, Nico smiled. "Good. Let's run the sim again. And this time listen to my orders." On the other side of the ship, Mira and Wham sat inside their flight pods, weaving their simulated fighters through a dense asteroid field. Wham, as usual, was talking far more than he was paying attention. "Myra, can I ask a question? Is it related to the simulation?" "Well, not Exa, no." He grumbled but kept scanning. "It's just, my brother and I were talking, that's nice. Pay attention. But these sims are easy," he said confidently seconds before the alarm screamed a missile lock warning. "What? Wait, what?" He panicked into a spiral, trying to use asteroids as cover. 3 enemy fighters closed around him like a trap. 1 cut him off. 2 stayed on his tail, bullets carving glowing scars in the rocks around him. Mayra dispatched 2 of them from behind, but Wham still made mistake after mistake. He didn't survive the second missile dot. As the screen went dark, Mira crossed her arms. "That is what happens when you don't pay attention." "No," Wham protested. "That's what happens when my wingman abandons me." "No," she repeated calmly. "That's what happens when you assume your wingman will save you from your own mistakes." While the system reset, he tried again. "Okay, but seriously, why are you guys being nice to us? You kidnapped us, you shot me, and now you let us walk around like we're guests." Myra sighed. "I don't know why the captain is allowing it, but I have suspicions." When she explained Nico's lost family, Wham fell silent. His usual energy evaporated as he imagined losing his parents and brothers in one night. His heart tightened. "Thanks for telling me," he whispered. "Let's race instead," Myra suggested. "If you stay within 5 seconds of me, you choose the next sim." That restored his grin. "Deal." Elsewhere on the ship, Ada and Winona worked side by side, mending torn jackets and worn pockets while Wart read nearby. Their conversation drifted from sewing to social systems, and Ada nearly choked laughing when Winona bluntly described principality life as basically slavery, but with salaries. Ada explained her home. Winona and Wart asked questions. Each answer shifted their understanding of the world outside their borders. When Ada recounted how she met Nico, how he'd defended her, how she'd later helped him escape after a clean assassination, Winona and Wart froze at the casual mention of murder. But Ada only shrugged. It was a rough port town. Stuff like that happens. Despite the shock, they listened closely to her life story. And Ada, noticing the unease that settled afterward, softened her tone. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry we met under these conditions. You have a lovely family." When the Staples were returned to their cells for the night, the crew gathered for dinner. Light conversation flowed until Ada mentioned the Principality's belief that commoners should die before nobles. Nico rolled his eyes. Karduk, however, finally spoke up, clearly irritated. "The way you all talk, it sounds like we should invite them to join the crew." The table stilled. "Is there a problem?" Nico asked calmly. "I just don't want us losing objectivity," Karduk muttered. "So you're questioning my fitness to command?" Karduk stiffened. "No, Captain." "Good," Nico said, letting the tension go as quickly as it came. "They're people, not monsters. Treating them decently doesn't mean we're forging lifelong bonds." The crew slowly relaxed again, though Karduk stayed quiet, picking at his food. Nico continued eating, his expression composed, but somewhere beneath it lay a flicker of surprise. He hadn't expected the question, nor the sting it brought. The evening carried on. But the unspoken truth lingered like an echo through the metal corridors. Lines were blurring. And soon, none of them would be able to pretend they didn't notice.